Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining, and welcome to another session of our Day One and Beyond series, where we take you through various topics and activities related to building out on Oracle Cloud. Today is the second session of our new series titled Unleashing AI Potential on Oracle Cloud. And this entire series will cover a wide range of the different AI tools and platforms that Oracle has to offer. But today's session will cover how to navigate the OCI AI service portfolio. Our presenters for today will be myself, Joey Hall, a senior cloud engineer here at Oracle, as well as my colleague, Jorge Sanchez. So with that, let's get started. So here's our roadmap for the session. We're going to start with a full portfolio overview. It'll be a big picture of how our infrastructure, data, and services all stack up. If you were in last month's session, it will be a quick debrief on what we covered there. And then we'll zoom into the core AI services. This will be the bread and butter, the vision, speech, language, and of course, generative AI. And after that, we'll shift gears to custom models. So this is for the data scientists and developers who need full control over their lifecycle. And then we'll wrap up the slides with an architecture discussion, quickly showing how to choose the right tools. And then we'll spend the last half of the session in the console for some live demonstrations. So that's what we're looking at today. So let's dive right into the portfolio. And when we talk about AI Oracle, we're not just talking about one chatbot or one model. We're talking about the complete vertical stack of solutions. So this is everything from infrastructure all the way up to applications. And if you look at the bottom, everything sits on OCI infrastructure. And this isn't just your commodity servers. We're talking about having bare metal NVIDIA GPUs and superclusters networked with RDMA. And that's the low latency networking, which is the big reason that we can train these massive models faster and cheaper than before. If you move up a layer, we have the data layer, and this is going to be critical. This is where you see Oracle AI Database, OCI Data Science. There's also the mention of Model Context Protocol, or MCP here. Just a quick note, this is a standard we've adopted to allow AI agents to securely query your data without complex custom integrations. We'll talk about that in a little more in a later session. But at the top, we have the consumption layer. So these are your AI services and your AI agents, where we're going to be spending a lot of the time talking about today. So whether you're using open models from Meta and Cohere or proprietary services like our speech and vision, they all run on the same secure, high-performance data and infrastructure foundations. So this is the most important mental model I want to leave you with here today, which is the different types of control you can have when building out your AI solutions. If you look at the far left, this is going to be our pre-built AI services. They're serverless. You don't care about managing the GPU, the memory, or the container. You just send a JSON payload to an API and you get the answer. And this is a fast route to value and a day one kind of get started with the least amount of management. And then on the far right, and we're going to skip over the middle for a second, this is custom models. So this is where OCI Data Science live, where you get total control. You pick the container image, you define the hyperparameters, you manage the storage. This is for when you have maybe some unique proprietary data that a generic model might not be able to understand. And if you look in the middle, this is the hybrid approach. So you get a little bit of both. This is where you can use things like AI quick actions. So for when you want to take an open source model like Llama 3 and fine tune it with your data, but you don't want to manage the underlying infrastructure. So it gives you the customization of the right side with the ease of use on the left side. And depending on what your use case is and what type of data you have, and even the skills that your team has, different approaches may be better for you and your organization. Now let's look into the pre-built services that we just talked about on the left side of that last slide. And you can see we kind of categorize our pre-built services into a couple different areas. You have some of the services that have been around for a little bit longer, like language, speech, vision, and document understanding. These are more specialized services with deterministic models. So if you want to do things like show them a receipt, you can extract the tax amount for every piece of data, and it won't hallucinate the stuff that it pulls from. The other area, it's a little bit newer, right? You have generative AI. And this is our managed service for large language models from Meta, Cohere, and all of the other main foundational models that you may have seen on the market. And then the third is the agentic layer, which we have down at the bottom and on, spanning the bottom. And this is kind of your orchestrator that ties the models to your business logic. So over the next few slides, we're going to double click into each of these and see what they actually can do and some of the use cases you can have. And these are what Jorge will be demoing for us later. Now with generative AI, it's important for us to distinguish between kind of the old world and the new world. So on the left side of this slide, you can see predictive AI. So this worked by recognizing patterns. You'd feed it thousands of pictures of something, and then it learns to predict what that something is when it sees a new one. It's more analytical. On the right, you have generative AI, which its purpose is to create something net new. It doesn't just recognize what you have and tell you what it is. It can actually write something for you. In OCI, our generative AI service gives you access to many different foundational models, and we can go in and look at what those are. We get into the console. You can also see that within documentation, but many of the foundational models that you've seen on the market are able to select from there. Now, you can use these on demand, so you're sharing infrastructure for a lower cost, or you can do it on dedicated AI clusters as well. And dedicated clusters are huge for enterprise because you're receiving basically a private lane of GPUs. So you have no noisy neighbors, guaranteed throughput, and your data never leaves that private enclosure. So you have different ways to deploy these. Now you have your large language models that you can select from, and they're very smart, but they're isolated, right? They don't know about your current inventory levels. They don't know about your HR policies. They don't know about your business and your business logic. The agent core that you can see here is the brain. And the brain has different things, different tools it needs to actually do the work. So if you look at the bottom boxes on the right-hand side still, you have pre-built tools within the agent platform to do things like retrieval augmented generation, can read your documents, or even using the SQL tool to query your databases. But then there's also custom tools where you can do things like write a Python function, and functions can do many different use cases because you're scripting it out. Or it can call REST APIs to interact with another application. So this gives your agents many different tools to extend beyond just what an LLM can do. It's actually taking action upon these tasks and incorporating your business's data. So here you might think, how is that different from Oracle Digital Assistant? So if you think of ODA as your transactional interface, and it's built for structured interactions. So one of the features is SQL dialogues. You can look at ODA, you can hook ODA directly to your database. So if a user asks, show me the top 5 sales reps within the Western region, ODA can translate that natural language into a SQL query, runs it against your backend, and returns the data. And it's also multi-channel, so you can build the conversation flow once, and you can deploy it simultaneously to different avenues like Microsoft Teams, Slack, SMS, a web portal. So it kind of meets your users where they already work. Going to the next service, let's look at OCI Language. In this screenshot, you can see the named entity recognition action. It's highlighting words like we cyclers as an organization, Lagos has a location, 1995 is a date. And why would we use this instead of an LLM? Well, really, it's a speed and cost decision. If you have to process 10 million support tickets to redact PII, using a massive LLM may be overkill and expensive for this particular use case. OCI language is smart. It's purpose built for this specific type of job and can do it at a low cost with high consistency. So it's a good tool for high volume text processing. Now, for different types of unstructured data, like audio and video, we have vision and speech. So the screenshot here shows OCI speech talking to a audio waveform, and it transcribes it into text. So someone's speaking, it's recorded, transcribed into text. And the key thing it's doing is identifying who is speaking, and it can label speaker 1 and speaker 2, so it can separate that out for you. On the left side, the vision side, we do image classification and object detection. Some common use cases, a lot of common use cases within manufacturing, you can see on some of these, is using OCI vision to automatically inspect parts. So if you have parts on an assembly line, it can flag and detect defects. And then you can train it on good parts and bad parts, so it can automate that quality control. So again, these are purpose-built AI solutions. And lastly, of the pre-built services, this is kind of a specific flavor of vision called document understanding. So if you look at the receipt here, a standard OCR tool would kind of just give you a random dump of text. Document understanding is smarter and can extract key value pairs. So if you notice in the image, you can see how it identified merchant name, so the date and the total, right? It can even look at table extraction, so it can understand that the lines of numbers belong to specific columns. So this can allow you to take PDF invoices and flatten it directly into a database table, or even Excel if you still want to do that, without any manual data entry. So we looked at the pre-built world. Now, what if you are looking to customize? What if you're a data scientist? What if your problem is so unique that no off-the-shelf model can solve it? Well, here's OCI Data Science. So this is a comprehensive platform for the entire machine learning lifecycle. If you look at the diagram, it follows your workflow. At the top left, it says develop. We give you managed Jupyter Lab notebooks with Khan environments pre-installed. So you don't have to fight with the library dependencies. You can just start coding. In the bottom left, you see operationalize. This is where you can run jobs, training runs that spin up a cluster of GPUs, which do a bunch of the heavy lifting, and then shut down automatically to save you money. And then in the top right, you can see manage. The model catalog is crucial for your governance. So it can track every version of your model, the code that built it, and the data it learned from. So this is essential for auditing as well. So this is going to be really useful in helping manage every aspect of those custom workloads when you're building out your AI solution. And this screen is going to show the AI Quick Actions interface that I mentioned very briefly when we talked about the hybrid approach. You can browse a curated list of the different verified models, so Llama, Mistral, and others. The beauty here is that these models are pre-optimized for OCI hardware. So you can click a card and then you have two different buttons, so fine tune and deploy. If you choose fine tune, you just upload your data set and we handle the orchestration. You don't have to write the PyTorch training loop. It just democratizes the ability to customize these powerful open source models. And then lastly, for the developers in the room, we have the Accelerated Data Science SDK, or Software Development Kit. So this is an open source Python library that we maintain, and its main job is to remove friction. So we're connecting to a secure object storage bucket, authenticating with OCI Vault Service, or even pulling data from the autonomous database. Right? All of those can require a lot of boilerplate code. The software development kit abstracts that away into simple one-line pieces and also includes AutoML, an AutoML engine that can automatically test your different algorithms against your data and then tell you which one performs best. So that can help speed up the experimentation process significantly. So that's a lot of tools, right? We talked about each slide, went over a pre-built OCI AI service, high level what it does, right? And then we talked about the OCI Data Science platform and how that can help you manage your entire life cycle and customize your models. Now let's look at a quick decision to help you select the right tool. So I use this simple checklist on the left, right? Choose pre-built AI services if your problem is more standard. You need to read a receipt, check sentiment, transcribe audio, and your team consists of developers who know REST APIs and API integration, but maybe they aren't machine learning experts. So here, speed is more of your priority. On the right, you choose data science. If your data is more proprietary and unique, you have things like genomic sequences or specialized financial telemetry. If a generic model looks at your data and sees more noise or more hallucinations, then it's better to probably train and build out your own. And this requires a team with maybe Python and PyTorch experience, but it gives you a lot more control. But again, your use cases are going to differ based off of the team you have, the data you have, and what you're looking to do. Now, what actually allows you to do this, right? We talked about how your large language models don't actually know your data. And this is where we bring in RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, to help solve that hallucination problem. If you look at the flow here, right, the user could ask a question, and we don't just send it to the LLM. First, we go to the AI vector database. That's the middle block. We vectorize the data and perform a semantic search to find the relevant documents. So that could be policies, manuals, or whatever unstructured data that you've had that needs to be vectorized, or even structured data that sits on the database that's also vectorized. Then we take those facts and combine them with the user's question on the way back after it's been retrieved. And then we send it to the generative AI model so that you get a response that's human readable and incorporates your actual business data. So this ensures that the AI answer is based off of your truth and not the internet's truth that the LLM has been trained on. And there are many things you can do to set up guardrails for this so that you're not just having a free form answer, but you can have structured rules in place to prevent things like PII coming in and out, or make sure there's no malicious language, or make sure that we're only pulling information from what has been identified within our business systems and not stuff from the internet that the LLM has been trained on. So this process, right, does allow you to take data, vectorize it, and use it with an LLM, right? But there's also other pieces that you need to put in place to help with security and governance there. And we have the tools, both pre-built and methods that you can use within your custom data science scripts that can help with this. Now, that's a lot of slides. Let's look at how these tools actually work within an OCI tenancy. So that's a quick introduction to what each of them are going to do. Now I'm going to hand this over to Jorge to show what they look like within the console. So Jorge, I'm going to hand this over to you.
What we're going to do now is, as Joey mentioned, is just a walkthrough and what are the capabilities of all these building blocks that we have, right? We have our AI out of the box services, and we'll go through them. Uh, I just want to emphasize that these solutions are ready to go, and we can just use them from the console, or um, there are building blocks for more complex solutions. We can use those in our notebooks, in our data science IDEs to just integrate them with our business applications, with our web applications, Apex, anything that you can think of, right? And we can use them in tandem. Uh, so we're going to show you what are the capabilities and what do they do as standalone in the console, but uh, just make sure that you know that these are fully integratable with all your applications through APIs. Okay. The first thing that I want to show you, this is, of course, our home screen for Oracle Cloud. As a refresher, we have our profile here where we have um, our names, our identity domain, our tenancy information, right? And on the right side, we have our navigation menu, our hamburger menu, and our category, analytics and AI. And then we'll see all the different subcategories within those services. The first one that I want to show you is data science, right? As Joey mentioned, this is going to help us orchestrate and use those services programmatically. The first thing that we have to do is create a project. It's as simple as just give it a name, a description, and make sure that you're creating it in the compartment that it needs to be. Again, we have set previously policies, and remember that OCI is restrictive. All the permissions are denied by default, and we have to create those policies for it to work. We click create, and after that, we have our project here. And when it's active, we have to create a notebook session, which is our Jupyter notebook. We click on create notebook. Again, make sure that the compartment is correct. Let's give it a name. And we can choose which is the computer shape, the compute shape that it's going to be running in. We can change this, and we have different options, of course. We can choose virtual machine or bare metal if we need a dedicated um, uh, hardware to run it, or we don't want to share those resources. And uh, then we'll go and choose our shape. It can be ADM, Intel, Ampere, and some specialty and previous generations as well. After we select that shape, we'll choose what is the block storage. This spans between 50 gigs and 10,000 gigs or 10 terabytes. We'll choose 50 as for our demo. And of course, we can also choose which type of network resources we want to um, assign to this. It can be default networking or custom networking if we want something more specific to our needs. Also, with custom networking, we can either choose from public endpoints or private endpoints. We're going to choose default networking. And finally, we can also choose what are going to be our storage mounts, either from file storage or object storage. And this is for us to leverage that data that we have stored in our systems. We can click create. This should be 50. It's that simple. So I had one previously created for the sake of time, and we can open that. That is going to redirect us to our Jupyter lab and our notebooks. Basically, here is where we are going to create our different notebooks. File, new, we can go to notebook and create one notebook. We can select that kernel. In this case is Python or Python 3. We select that. And basically, this is where we are going to script our applications. There's already a lot of defined functions and libraries to leverage those out-of-box AI services that we'll show you in a bit. And we can leverage all of those from here programmatically to build our applications and also integrate them with our web applications, digital assistants, and other business tools that we might use. Okay. So this is how we get to that orchestration tool that is very useful. But let's see what are the different capabilities that Joey was mentioning before. Once again, we go into analytics and AI. And let's start with the first AI service, which is Gen AI. Okay. Basically, we're going to go into the playground, and this is just our endpoint or our chatbot where we leverage the different models that we have with our partners and that are already available to you. As you can see here, we have our compartment where we're running this, and we have our models. So these are all the models that we have available and that we can just tap in, choose it, and start working with that and with the pre-trained data that each model has. And in this case, we have some Gemini, some Groks, and this is always evolving. This is always changing. So we might add more models as soon as we have more partnerships, right? It's good to know that Oracle is LLM agnostic. Basically, we can host any model that we want. If there is some models that you might want for your solutions, but they're not here, we can host that model in OCI or have the data that we need to train that model. And for that, we're going to build some custom. I'm going to show you how to create a custom model as well. So basically, this is the playground. We can view the model in more detail here, and we can choose it depending on what the description is and what is the volume of data that is pre-trained in that model. So let's just type hello chat. Perfect. So we're getting that large language response. So we can ask it anything that we want. And again, we're right now using Gemini 2.5, but we can change this. Let's go back here. Let's go to custom models. So as I mentioned, we're not going to create one right now because there's other things that we need to do and set up like an object storage where we have our data, but it's really easy to just click create a custom model. And we're going to hold that in one compartment. We have our name, our version, and our description. And then after that, what we need to do is just set that data selection and mention which is the data that we're going to pre-train. Or if we already have a model, we can just host that model in OCI and leverage that one within our playground as well. Let's show you language now. Okay, so this is where we do our different language detection, text classification, sentiment analysis, key phrase extraction, and like personal information detection, healthcare use cases. If we go here, you have all those use cases. We can click here and get the documentation from our help center, and you will be able to check out all the different things that it does and what it's available for each of these services. So let's analyze some text in the console. Okay. So we have our sample paragraph here. The ozone layer is found in the lower portions of the Earth atmosphere. It has potential to absorb around 97 to 99% of harmful ultraviolet radiation. And of course, we have some information there. So maybe we don't have the time to or read all of these, and this is of course, built for high volumes of data. So we can analyze that from the get-go, and the system will tell us, hey, this is in English. So it automatically detects what language is the text in. Text classification, it gives a category to it with a level of confidence. And it gives a color as well, just to group it in different keywords, right? So we have entity recognition. We have certain keywords that are classified specifically by their meaning. In this case, Earth, its location, Antarctic location as well. And then we have quantity percentages. The large language model is going to be able to identify these keywords that it thinks that are relevant and are important for analyzing specifically, or identifying certain things within the the text, and it can give us a sentiment analysis, right? So it has that key phrase extraction of all the things that it has identified, and it's telling us, hey, this document has a neutral sentiment, and we can use this in case we want to modify our information if this is something that it's going to maybe be shared with customers, but we want something that it's a little bit more positive or persuasive. We can use this to see if we're actually achieving our objectives before we're sharing all this information. Also, we can mask some of the data if it's sensitive. And as you can see in this paragraph, we don't have much sensitive data, but in this, there are other cases where we have emails or names or phone numbers where we can mask, replace, or remove. And this is how we do it. We come here into the domain, we choose our use case, we choose which is the action that we want to perform, and then even what character are we going to use to mask those characters, right? We can save those changes, and that will be reflected here. Unfortunately, in this example, we don't have sensitive information. We can also do text translation. Let's say we have that same information and we want to share it with French customers. So automatically we can get also that translation, which is very useful. Let's go back to our analytics and AI, and let's go to speech. So here we can either use text to generate audio files or speech, or the other way around, right? So we can create transcription jobs, and if we have audio files in our object storage, we can input that and choose an output as well, and create that job to get that transcript or that audio file. Let's use live transcribe. So this is the other way around. We can use an audio and get the transcription just by starting a session. So let's start that session. It's already listening. And yes, this is just an example. Like, welcome to our day one and beyond. Joey and I, we've been explaining to you all these services. And this is just live transcribed from the speech out of the box AI platform service in OCI. Okay, so I'll stop that session, and as you can see, it's already there. It's been listening to me and transcribing that, and of course we can control how the transcription works, either which type of model we're going to use. If we have medical use cases, we can also turn that on, choose the language, the punctuation, and some partial silence or final silence thresholds depending on what type of audio we're using, right? So it's fully customizable and it's flexible. Text to speech as well. We have a little sample paragraph here, and we can generate that audio. Again, we have some settings to customize. we have a bunch of speakers here and different voices that we can assign. So we can just test them and choose which one is best for our use case. The output format, depending on what we need, and sample rate, and also enable streaming or SSML. So it's already generated. So yeah, you can just play it, and that was Bob. But yeah, this is another powerful tool where we can just create audio files and speech from just a paragraph or a text. Let's go to vision. Okay, so we already uh, explored text. We explored audio. Let's go to vision. Now we're going to play with images and video. Basically, we have our video tours here. This is our kind of like an overview on how vision works. So you get redirected to YouTube where we have some videos explaining the service and how it works. So if you ever need to share this with your customers or um, know how the system works or the service works, these are available. And very important, these are the policies for vision as well. We have already preset all the policies that we might need in order to use this. Again, all permissions in OCI are restricted by default. So we have the policies to grant user access to vision APIs, input image files, and all the policies that you might think that we need in order to use the service. Okay. So we have done this previously, so we can actually go into the service and start using it. So we have different flavors of vision. The first one is image classification. We can use our images either from local files or object storage, but we have some samples right here. As you can see, this is one of the images that we have. Um, and we have our results on this side. So image classification, what it does is just labels the image and the different things that that image contains. As you can see here, you have a power line, a transmission tower, electrical supply, plants and trees, things that the model sees inside the image and gives it a confidence level. So we know that if the LLM is possibly hallucinating or it's completely sure that those are the things or the elements that or it can see on the image. And also we can have the JSON request that the model has created to get this information. And we can also see the response right here. And we can use this either to modify it or to just implement this programmatically. As I said, one of the tools for orchestration is our um, Jupyter notebooks. If we use this one, again, we have other results. And this is not just classifying the overall image. As you can see, this is not only genes, but it's detecting that there are pockets in there, which type of fabric is the piece of clothing that is in, in the image, textile clothing with that level of confidence. Okay. We can also detect objects. As you can see here again, it will label it. And the good thing is that also it's going to use these rectangles to show where the objects are within the image. We have a car, we have a bus, we have person, car, and we have, again, level of confidence, request JSON script, and response JSON script. If we see this one, we can also see human face, person, helmet. So depending on what our use case is, we can make sure that certain objects are the ones that we identify. For example, in this use case, we might have a construction site where we need all the workers to have their helmet on, right? And that model will help us understand if everybody in the construction site has their helmet on. Of course, we have face detection as well, specifically for faces. Basically, it's the same, but this is optimized for faces. And we have also text detection for images specifically. We can get the different text that are uh, in our pictures, or that is in our pictures. The good thing here is that also we can highlight in the image specifically which keyword it's detecting: request script, response script. And also we can do video analysis. For this, it works the same. The only thing is that we need to set up a bucket where our video is going to sit, and we can include that as our input. And we will also have an output object storage location so we can get our results. So this is vision. Let's go back to analytics and AI. And finally, let's get to document understanding. Okay. This one's also pretty powerful because we know that text detection has been in systems for a while, right? We can detect text from PDFs, from invoices, receipts, but now it's more powerful with our models. We can do text extraction, which is the simplest of them all, where we have a picture or a photo that it's not, maybe it's not typed, but it's written, and it's going to be able to detect that handwriting, and it's going to give us either extraction by line or by word. As we can see here, all the different words that it has detected, with our request as well, if we need it programmatically, and our response. Okay. And we have either, I mean, these are just different examples. It's not only images, but actually PDFs as well. If we have vast amounts of data or very long documents, we are able to extract some of that information with text extraction. We can also extract some tables. As you can see, like sometimes we scan documents or we have PDFs, and then we are not able to get that information or that table as it is. Now we can do that with table extraction. As you can see here, we have the same exact table that we can include in our spreadsheets. And if there's multiple tables, you will be able to see all the table results here, and even search within the same table. We can have some key value extraction. It is analyzing this invoice. And basically, this one works in tandem with document classification. It's already detecting which type of document type is. And this is, again, very helpful because sometimes we are not only wanting to extract the data or the text that we have in our documents or our invoices, but actually from like supply chain invoice use cases, we need to detect if we have a receipt or if we have an invoice, and not only get that text, but actually it's going to be easier if we categorize it, and the model is able to label or categorize the data that it's on this invoice. For example, we get our vendor address, we get our invoice ID, our date, customers, shipping. So from the get-go, we have a lot of very structured and helpful data that it's going to make our lives easier if we want to handle invoices or POs or receipts. If we see this example, we can also tag that we have a sample receipt here, it's going to detect that is a receipt, and it's going to tell us, okay, this is our merchant name, our address, phone number. So these type of services make our life very easy. Document classification is just another way. Um, it doesn't extract the information, but it detects what an invoice is, which key value extraction does as well for us. Okay, so these are some of the out of the box examples or services that are available. I again want to highlight that these are available to you out of the box in OCI console, and you can tap into them and use them with the information that you have in object storage, but are fully integratable with Oracle integration or API calls, and we can leverage these from either our orchestration tools or our applications and web applications or business applications. Okay. So this is what I have prepared for you. So Joey, I think that uh, you can take it back from me.
So thank you, Jorge. We went through what each of those pre-built AI solutions looks like within the console. And you could see how you could take each of those pieces and build that into a larger architecture. Right? You could have these services ingest the associated data, depending on which one you're looking for vision, speech, language, etc., and bring that into your overall Oracle database, use that with the generative AI agent, and have that do different actions for you within an overall architecture. So you can use all of this together. You can take pieces of those tools, help that bring it into your overall ecosystem, and use that to inform and create more high quality and consistent outcomes as you move forward with your different agentic deployments. Now, what's next? So beyond just these webinar sessions, we also have personalized training that we can do with your teams. So we could be one-on-one that's working with our team and you at the customer to do one of these 4 related AI sessions and many beyond this, which I'll talk about in a second. So if you want to go from just watching and seeing some of the demonstrations that we have here and asking questions in our kind of lecture demo format, we can go through and actually walk you through building out with some of these different labs so you get some hands-on experience as well. So that could be building and deploying models with OCI Data Science. So we talked about data science being that more customized route. We have building with OCI Generative AI, so actually creating data with these services using some of those foundational models. And then we have leveraging the Oracle AI Data Platform and Autonomous Database 26 AI. So this is actually going to be what our next month's session is going to be talking about as well. So if you're looking for more information on the AI Data Platform, I saw one of the questions within the chat on that. That's what we'll be covering next month. And then lastly, if you want to build more of an end-to-end solution using all these like generative vision, speech, language, OML, all of that would be in session 4 down there. So please let us know if this is something that you would like us to engage your team with. And beyond just those 4 AI related sessions, we do personalized training, we do walkthroughs of labs, we have more day 1 and beyond sessions. So if there's topics beyond that that you would like to work with us with, please feel free to email us. And then there's also developer experience or code innovate. These are half-day sessions where you would actually build out a POC on one of the relevant use cases throughout a week with one of the teams as well. So separate email for that one. Looking forward, so this is for the month of February. We have many different series going on now. So the core series, the AI database unlocked. So that's diving in further to the database workloads. AI potential on Oracle Cloud, that's us here today. And we have security, and we have did you know? So what's newly released within OCI that you should be aware of. And there's hands-on to walk you through some labs and the knowledge archives, looking back at some other sessions. And if you want to learn more This is just some resources for you to watch other videos, get certified on the many different Oracle certifications through Oracle University, get a free tier account to build out on your own if you don't have a sandbox tendency within your current corporate workload. There's also the Live Labs platform where you can access hundreds of different labs, some even on Oracle owned environments that you can utilize there. And then look through documentation for the relevant services, as well as some best practices through the cloud adoption framework. So that's going to be all for today's session. And we thank you all for joining. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you in some of our later sessions.